In my years in uni, secondary school, in life generally, we're not schooled about disappointments.
Mm.
And disappointment is a big part of life,
Sure.
and it can feel very heavy.
Yes. I
What does
agree.
disappointment, what does it look like for you, and how have you been able to navigate disappointment?
I think with disappointment is like a learning curve basically. With each disappointment, I learn to handle it better because technically you're not taught in school how to handle
Yeah, I
disappointment.
know.
And you actually go through life and then you start seeing like disappointment come in different sizes, like I would like to say,
True.
in the little things, oh, you hope for something, you go somewhere and it doesn't work out that way. And then
Mm-hmm.
you start seeing like in the big pictures, it starts becoming like bigger. So I think learning how to handle like the small disappointment of maybe wanting something and not getting it, applying for a job and not getting it. Like the first time you apply for a job and you don't get it, you're like, okay, no worries, I can, I'll get another
Yeah.
one. And then when it starts becoming like a
Frequent.
motive, like I feel like it
Yes.
can pile up. And if you don't know how to handle it a lot, like if you don't know how to handle the small ones in that, those small moments, when it becomes a pile up of the small ones, it can be a lot for individuals. And obviously we learn differently. People handle.
True.
So you have to learn what works for you. There's like a general approach to handling disappointment. But I think as a person you have to also know to what works for you and try to figure out, okay, this is my point when I'm getting to this brink. How do I get out of this? How do I make sure that I don't let this swallow me as a whole? So for me, I think it's like it was a learning process basically. I learned it live, and I'm still learning
Yeah.
because obviously I don't want to say it's not like a prayer or something, but I've still not faced my biggest disappointment yet
Yes, because you're still
because
living
I'm
through
still living
life.
through life. But then I'm learning how to, walk along and say, okay, this is how I can handle this. This is how I can make it better. And with every disappointment I face, I learned that okay, I can redirect myself. This is not the end. It's not. It doesn't tell on me because that's the biggest lesson I learned. To understand that disappointment is not saying this is who I am. The fact that
Yes.
this is not working out, it does not mean that it is a tell on my person. It's not a
True.
tell on my character. It's not a tell on who I am. It's just part of life process
I think
basically.
because honestly, with disappointment, there's nothing that says, oh, you can actually feel disappointed and it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel bitter, it's okay to feel terrible, especially because you probably are prepared for what you're expecting for. And because now you don't get those things, it feels heavy. I think we should acknowledge our disappointment. It's okay to acknowledge it. It doesn't make us less of of human if we acknowledge our disappointment. It just shows that okay, you know what? You were aiming for something, you never got it, and it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel terrible. It's okay to because many a times because we want to be responsible, we don't want to show a vulnerable part where we are disappointed.
And I think there is also a part of sometimes if someone was to call to me that they were disappointed, sometimes we don't know how to handle it as friends or people around because
Yes,
you
you
want to
mustn't know what to
encourage the
say.
person. You're like, don't worry now, it's not like that. And
Yeah.
then sometimes it can be like it could even be like, well, even if the person wasn't taking it bad, let's do like typical Nigerian parents. Now you feel something like, is that the end of the world? You feel you did not reach that kind of thing, and they just
True.
want to. So sometimes even when you cannot handle it well, some people don't always have the blessing of having the right people to tell them, oh, this is like just to guide them that, oh, this is a
Yes, it's
disappointment
okay
to
to talk
face, here we
about
go.
it.
Basically. So I think there's also that like so it's not enough to know how to handle disappointment for yourself. It's also a thing of being able to understand like when you see somebody that is going through a phase of disappointment, how can you encourage the person? How can you speak to the
Yeah.
person? How can you advise the person? I think that we should also place like importance or like place much emphasis on that also as
Yeah.
people. So even if you're not going through disappointment, how do you help people while going through that season?
True. I think first of all, coming out of disappointment, one has to be you need to first acknowledge it. Then it helps you talk about it if necessary because you don't have to stomach all of that. You can share like that with a friend, with someone who you think is trusted, who can sort of acknowledge your disappointment and sort of talk you out of it. But I think the major thing here is how do we come out of our disappointment? How do we navigate that part to say, okay, yes, I was disappointed and I'm feeling heavy, I'm feeling down. How do I come out of it? Yes, you can acknowledge, you can feel it, but like moving past disappointment is something that can be very difficult, don't you think?
Yes, I do think, and I think you've mentioned something that was very important. I think the first phase is acknowledging that. I think you cannot go past it if you don't acknowledge that. oh yes, I feel bad that I did not get this.
Yeah.
Like it's a valid feeling, and understanding or acknowledging that what you're feeling is valid. That okay, yes, it's a valid feeling. It happened. Then now that kind of gives you light to go past it and understand. Like sometimes as humans, we have to learn to isolate things that happen around us from us. Like the
Yes.
fact that something is happening is not dependent on you. There's so
True.
many things we cannot control,
True.
and some things, no matter how good you are. For example, when I was applying for jobs, like anyone that's applying for jobs,
Oh my
it's not a
god.
game of how good you are.
Yes.
Sometimes, and some people tell you, a lot of people tell you they apply 400 applications. It's not like they're not good enough. And sometimes you don't even know how they are shortlisted.
True.
But then to say, oh, because I applied for one job, that means I'm not good. No, I don't. So
Nah, it
that you
doesn't.
have to understand that there are some things you have to learn to
Yeah.
isolate yourself out of. Oh, it's not dependent on you.
Yeah. I think it's learning from disappointment. Do not blame yourself or others for why you got disappointed. Look at what exactly went wrong. You probably were not ready for what you wanted. You made some mistake. And this is not a blame game. I say, okay, I did something that maybe did not qualify me for what I wanted, as the case may be when it comes to a job now. And even if I was qualified, it just wasn't my turn here.
Yeah.
To like isolate the problem, not blame myself and say, oh my god, I probably wasn't good enough, or what I was expecting didn't come to me because I did not deserve it. We tend to blame ourselves for our disappointments instead
Yeah.
of looking at the problem for what it is.
And I think an example, I think I've heard it before, I can't remember where exactly I heard it. It said if you see a child or your child basically working and then there's like an obstacle, obviously the child doesn't know, cannot
Yeah.
differentiate. If the child falls down and like, oh, stands up back and says, oh, I'm no more working again, sit down, you as an adult feel like, come on, the fact that you fell down.
Yeah.
Then, so sometimes you have to remember, like, look at, try to simply, sometimes we take life to heart and it's hard to like just look at it in the simplest form, like, oh, okay, yes, I fell down, like this did not come out right.
Yes.
Or even if it was due to a mistake of like, or maybe you didn't prep well or something, it's always just an indicator that you need to do better.
Sure. Sure.
So life is a journey. You don't like, there's something I always tell someone, you like, oh, there are accidents on the road. I'm like, no matter how many accidents there are on the road, you never say you're not going to go out.
Sure. True.
There's some certain things that no matter how bad it is, COVID came, we were not all out. We did not say
I
after COVID, they're like, oh no,
know.
I'm
I
not going to come out.
know.
So we have to learn that life continues, life
Sure.
goes on. As much as it's very difficult, it's easier said than done, obviously, but life actually goes on.
It does. And just because of we feel pain from disappointment, it should never shortchange our destiny. It should never shortchange what we want.
Yeah.
It's okay to try again, even if you're disappointed over and over and over again. And that's the thing about resilience. I mean, these things are not thoughts to people. It's something we sort of have to learn firsthand with life. But I think all in all, understanding the disappointments just helps us become better people. Honestly, it helps us build resilience. We can see what was there,
Yeah.
and we can see how to make progress. Oh, I did not get this job. I'll probably do it better the next time. And it doesn't mean I'm less of who I'm supposed to be. No, I was just
true.
disappointed.
True.
What are your final words about disappointment? If there's anyone out there who's disappointed, who's feeling like nobody gets them, what's your final words to them?
I would just say if you're feeling like nobody gets you, you have to get yourself and go past it. Remember, like you're going to be your biggest cheerleader. So
Yeah.
if you stay in that place of being like, for example, you're disappointed now. If you stay in that place, you're going to be disappointed in yourself for a long time. So just get over it and remember that, like, oh, you're disappointed now. Do something that will make yourself proud. Move forward.
Yeah.
Live life. Face it to the fullest.
Yes.
And I think that was my
Yeah.
final word.
And a disappointment is just a step to your goals, to your achievement, whatever it is you want. Sometimes it shouldn't keep you grounded. It should just be another stepping stone to what you want. If you're disappointed, don't feel like no one gets you. Even if they don't get you, make sure for you it's a stepping stone to your success, to life generally. And you never know. Your disappointment could be someone's strength in the days to come. People will definitely learn from what you've gone through. So do not stay in disappointment, move past it, and you'll be fine.
You definitely be fine.